What's up, guys? I accidentally deleted my old Discord with like 2,500 members. So if you guys want to join that, link is down below. And I'm also recovering from strep throat and the flu. So I'm going to be coughing like more so towards the end of the video when my throat starts getting a little scratchy. So please ignore that, but this is going to be a really helpful video. I put my deck list, or I guess I will put my deck list on the screen. Not that it matters, but I did get third at the Treasure Cup online for the last tournament of 8.5, and then at Dallas I got 43rd, both with Doffy. So I feel like I have a lot to offer you guys in terms of explaining the Doffy matchup, and let me know if it's helpful. Thanks. Hey guys, this is going to be the round 9 feature match that I'm going to be going over. I want to explain my thoughts on this game because there's a lot of things that I think people do really wrong in the doflamingo mirror match, and with some my insights in this game right here, I will say that maybe you can learn a thing or two, and when you're going to one of these regionals or nationals coming up, if you're in there, maybe you can have a little bit of a better understanding with this matchup. Now, I have found that going first actually does feel better if you draw good cards. If you don't draw like a 6K off the top of your Perona search, or even if you don't open up Perona at all, going first is actually like significantly worse, and it's really scary going first. So going first is pretty much like high risk, high reward. Going second is pretty much steadily, you're able to see way more cards, and then you're able to see your Jinbeis most likely more consistently, because you have access to an extra draw, and then also extra dawn to be able to find it. The thing about going first is if you don't open up Perona and then the Jinbei isn't in your top 5, they're gonna Jinbei before you going second. So if you can Jinbei before them, obviously that's massive, but you need the stars to kind of align for that. Now, luckily for me, the stars did align because this Jinbei is at the top and I have a Jinbei in my hand, which is great. So he's gonna go ahead and go Sengoku. Sengoku's gonna find him his own Jinbei, actually, which is really nice, of course. And I will say I really like how this mirror went, because both of us did see the cards we needed to see, and I think that's a really good way to kind of showcase how this mirror match goes and the ebb and flow of this. I'm going to do a play you guys have never expected before in your entire life, and then I say, hey, I forgot to let my brother know I'm on the feature match. Let me text him real quick. So I texted him, and I think he said he was going to do the same thing as well. But yep, I was like, hey, I'm on stream. And then, okay, 7 into life, activate effect, revealing Jinbei. Jinbei is going to reveal a boa from my hand. Now, I will say I had an option to play something else other than boa. I believe I had the option to play Weevil, but I actually much prefer the boa if you are going first, because they can't tax your hand if they are going to play the Jinbei from the top, unless they do play Teach, which is an option. Some people do play Teach, and that is a decent 4-don play, I'm not going to lie. But I do like the boa a lot here if he does not have the Teach. But he did have Jinbei and Law to bounce back his Sengoku, and bounces back my boa, and then he does get the free 5k hit into the Jinbei anyway. So I did opt to protect this Jinbei, because you want to keep bodies on the board. If you let bodies go, then you're not going to be able to win the game, because you have nothing to contest their life and nothing to contest their hand. And I know for a fact I'm not turning this Jinbei sideways next turn anyway, because I still have 5 life. I need cards in my hand to be able to protect the Jinbei, and that is the issue with this mirror. Is a lot of people turn their characters sideways way too early, and a lot of the times people attack into the wrong targets. So I want to hopefully explain that. I'm gonna have a full guide to Doffy in coming up later. I don't know exactly when, but this video will serve as a pretense for that. And I don't know if I said this already in the video, guys, but I did open up my my coaching. I'm going to be coaching probably like, I don't know, like 2 to 4 sessions a week. I was doing this full time, but then I got kind of burned out on it, so I decided to actually get a job. I know, right? A job. It's like a curse word. And I just don't have time to do as much coaching anymore. But I have so many people come up to me during these events, not obviously online events because I'm at my house, but these offline events like Dallas, and they're like, hey, I just made day 2, or I just got top 8, and I was just watching your videos, on the plane, or in the car. So thank you, and that always makes me feel good, because sometimes I always feel like I'm like, am I crazy? Like, am I seeing this in a way that like no one else sees it, and this is wrong? But it seems to work for me. I don't know. I don't like giving people bad advice, but turns out it's good advice. So if you want some good advice, let me know in the Discord below. It's going to be in the description. So like I said, I go 6 into his life here. I'm not worried about him taking it at all because this guy is already at 4 life. You don't want to take life too early in the Doffy mirror, because once you do that, they're going to start taxing the fudge out of your hand. And once you do that, of course, you're going to start losing characters, and then you're pretty much going to go for lethal pretty soon after that. I find how this mirror match goes is you start taxing their life, and then once their life is low enough, you start taxing their hand, and once their hand and life are low enough, you kind of just go for lethal. And you have to kind of know when to attack into the targets at the right time. I think a lot of times people get caught in this loop of like dealing with characters and never attacking into the board, but you have to kind of realize that sometimes when they're not, and actually I'm gonna save that talk for this coming up. Actually, at the end of the game, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There is a moment where I could have attacked this guy's weevils, but I was like, what is that going to do? Why am I going to attack into his weevils when his life is ready for the taking? So he decides to not attack with the Jinbei there. I was actually kind of surprised he didn't attack with the Jinbei because I was going to give him a 2k, but I did read, I guess, from that interaction that his hand wasn't really all that great. I do remember though, there is a law at the top of my deck though, which is absolutely insane. So I'm going to do a great 7 Don play, swing 7 into his life, and then go ahead and play law. Law bounces itself back to bounce back the active boa. That way you can't block, obviously, and counter out with a 2k. And then he's going to give me 2 cards here. I did not expect him to counter out with 2 cards right here. I think this was actually a little bit of a mistake on his part right here, because if he was worried about me swinging 7-7, he could have just countered out of the second 7 because he's going to take a 7 either way. So why not take the first one so I can't completely tax him? But now I'm still taking 2 cards out of his hand either way, but he has 1 less card to choose from. So he could have just discarded a card that could have been really important, like potentially a Jozu later on. So I do swing 5 into him. I swing 5 into him again. He gives me a 1k. He takes this hit right here. And then he takes another 1k. So the reason I say he shouldn't have countered out of this one right here, guys, is because he had the ability to give me 1ks by countering out of these 5s right here, or he could have given me what he did right there, which was give me a 2k, and that could have mattered in the grand scheme of things. I don't think it did, but it could have. Now I do bounce back my law here. I was debating bouncing back my Jinbei to bounce back the, what is it called, the boa, but what I want you guys to realize is in the mirror match, sometimes you bounce back your laws, sometimes you don't. When you don't bounce back your laws, you want to establish a lot of pressure, and you want to make sure that you have a lot of tempo and a lot of characters that they can't exactly remove very easily. This situation right here, I had to bounce one of my characters, but personally, I think this was still the right call, regardless, because I didn't have a law in hand, and I knew that I had a Sengoku in hand that I just hadn't been able to play just yet, because of the, me needing Dawn to play characters. But if I can find that damn Teach in my deck, which has eluded me thus far, then that law that I bounce back to the top will be very, very helpful in future turns. However, I just never saw it the entire game until like the very, very, very end. Even though I did so many searches, so many, reorganizations with Boa and Perona, just didn't happen to see it, unfortunately. And I believe this is the turn where he does actually play the Teach. Teach is just such a scary card in this matchup, guys, because it allows you to swing 7Ks or, even 8Ks into my board or into my life. And that is a lot of cards that I need to counter out with. And they're just getting that for free value and then playing something off the top that also gets them something for free. It's really powerful. If mine sticks and theirs doesn't, it feels very good. I feel like I'm playing with an advantage. I'm playing with 12 Dawn every turn, and my opponent's only playing with 10. And in a match of resources, which is what I believe the Doffy mirror is, I believe that is a very, very, very good advantage, a very powerful advantage. So he goes 5 into my Jinbei. What I want this turn to look like is I want to match him in life. He has 3 life, I have 4 life. So I want to counter out of the Jinbei attack. All right. And so I want to counter out of the Jinbei attack, and then he's going to swing 7 into the Jinbei. I'm going to let it go. And I do want to take 1 life, I believe. So I believe he's going to swing 7 into Jinbei. Oh, that's why I do it. Yeah. I knew he's going to swing 7 into a Jinbei, obviously, because he played Teach. So him swinging 5 into my Jinbei, I have to protect it because I assume that my Teach is gone by a 7k attack. So now, sorry about that, guys. I had the strep throat and the flu all weekend, and I'm still kind of recovering from it. Now I do have the law in hand. I counter out of the 7k to protect this Jinbei, not only to play around pudding, but to also keep board pressure alive because he is only at 3 life, and he does play the law to bounce back the Jinbei, which is totally fine by me, by the way, because I didn't keep that law in hand, so actually no, I do have that law in hand because he bounced one of them back actually. So yeah, I believe I'm totally fine to do this. Or to protect the Jinbei. I wanted to put a lot of pressure on him, but I did want to tax his hand again. He only had 4 or 5 cards in hand, I believe, and this is my 8-Dawn turn. This is where, like I said, guys, Teach would have been really good because I could have played a 4-cost character, I could have played a Teach, and then I could have swung 7, and that would have been obviously really helpful. But I'm looking with Sengoku. Guys, I believe this is when Actually, I'm sorry, this is my 9-Dawn turn. I have 8-Dawn to work with. I remember this play specifically. I'm going to fast forward it just a little bit, guys, because this was like a really long... oh, this is not the search. Disregard. I'm going to get a Weevil here. Now, the Weevil doesn't really come in handy too much because, like I said, I don't have the Teach, and you just keep bouncing it back. You don't get the draw if you do that, which is just really unfortunate. I love how when they bounce back my Teach... I'm sorry, if they bounce back my Weevil, and I have Teach, I basically just get a free card to play off the top every single turn, and it helps me draw a card. It's actually really powerful and not as devastating as you might think, although, like, obviously the body not being established is not great. It does feel good to draw, 2 cards a turn just by playing Teach. It just feels really good. And then also making them use a resource on the Teach. Now he only has 5 cards in hand right here, so I know for a fact if he does keep the Jinbei, he's going to go down to a really low hand size, and that's totally fine by me because I'm already winning in terms of life and on hand size at that point, and in terms of board control. So him protecting this Jinbei doesn't really matter to me too much right here, especially because I'm going to fill up my board with, I believe, 3 other characters this turn, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to play like Jinbei into, Jinbei into Weevil, and then I'm going to play Law. Now, damn, dude, do I wish I had a freaking, I wish I had a freaking Teach right here. Now I did do a little bit of a missequence, I'm not gonna lie. I should have done Jinbei plus Weevil first to see if I was able to find a Teach off the top of my deck. And then I could have obviously used my leader effect, but I did not, unfortunately. That was a big misplay on my part. Now this is where I debated bouncing the Law back, but this is not when I bounced the Law back because I wanted to exert a lot of pressure on him on the following turn. And then every character he bounces back other than the Weevil is just free value for me, and if I did have the Teach, then the Weevil would also be free value. Now I debate what to do here. He is dwindling low in hand size, so if I give him back his Law, then like that's good for him. If I give him back his Jinbei, he's able to just play it, multiple characters. So I decided to bounce his Teach. Because Teach gives him a lot of like really good, cheap, efficient plays, and he can no longer play multiple bodies and the Teach on the same turn. If you're gonna play sorry about that, guys. If you're gonna play, like, if I don't bounce back his Teach, he can play 2 4 costs as well as use his leader effect. Now he can only play 1 4 cost and use his leader effect with the Teach, which I think is really helpful in this situation right here because he has 2 characters active, and I assume he's going to try to kill the Jinbei, but if he doesn't try to kill the Jinbei, he can rush me down in life and put me down to 2, which obviously I don't think would be very great here, but some crazy situation could happen where he could actually just rush me down if I don't have counter in my hand. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't have a lot of counter in my hand. I didn't see a lot of 2Ks this game. I saw like, I think like 4 total, 4 or 5 out of my 11, or I think I play 11. So I saw like less than 50% of them, considering how, you know, how consistent this deck is and how many cards you can see in the future and rearrange. I just didn't see a lot of 2K, so I was worried about him pressuring me down. That's why I bounced the Teach back right there. Also, like, bouncing Jinbei and bouncing Law don't really feel that great. You just do it basically for tempo. So this guy's kind of deciding what he's going to do here. I will say, guys, while we're kind of waiting for that, I think the number one thing that people do wrong with this deck right here is they just play way too many characters when they don't have to. Like, there's a difference, like, with your I'm really sorry, guys. With your what is it called? With your Dawn, you have to focus on objectives, all right? And what you do with your Dawn depends on what objective you want to accomplish. If they're running low on life, or they're running low on cards in hand, then your objective with your Dawn is to be aggressive. In the beginning of the game, your objective with your Dawn is just to be efficient. It's like, okay, I need to play, I have 4 Dawn, I want to play a 4 Dawn character. All right, I have 6 Dawn, I want to play a 6 Dawn character. Things like that. But towards the later parts of the game, you start being able to be flexible with your Dawn and manipulate it in other ways. And those ways are just like, okay, what is the best thing I can do to basically start getting ahead? So he goes ahead and bounces Jinbei back with his Law. I thought it was a pretty good play. Swings into the Jinbei. I let the Jinbei go. Like I said, I don't have a lot of counter, but I don't want him to know I don't have a lot of counter, so I debated saving it, but I did not have it. He swings 6 on a life right here. I'm totally fine with that. I'll take it. That's his last attack, and I'll get an extra card in hand, and we still have the same amount of life, and I have 2 characters, most likely. Now, worst case scenario, he bounces back my Law, and then my Law obviously can bounce back one of his characters, most likely going to be the New Gate, right? But the New Gate with the Teach is obviously not as valuable as you might think. This is where I go digging for a Teach again, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't find it. So I'm like, dude, where is this Teach at, man? Do I really need to bump this up to 3 right here? So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this, guys, because this is like a 30-second search, and I end up getting, I believe it's the Jinbei. Wow, this is actually way longer than I thought. Okay, yeah, I get the Jinbei right there. I did not expect the search to be that long. So I go ahead and play Jinbei. Jinbei goes into Boa. Now, I had a lot of other plays, guys. I still have the Law in my hand, by the way, the Bounce Law. But the reason I didn't do that is because he only has 4 cards in hand, and 2 of them are the Boas that I bounce back. So I know of those 4 cards in hand, 2 of them are dead. And I wanted to spend the rest of my Dawn attacking into his board because he doesn't have the cards to defend it. The reason I attack into his board here, guys, is because he cannot rebuild his board very easily once he starts running low on cards in hand. And then also, I'm going to be able to pierce into his life by swinging 7 actually with the doflamingo, because I have a Boa on the top. So I'm going to be able to swing 7 with Doffy into the Law, and then bring out a Boa, and then Boa puts Arrested Dawn on the Law, and I'm able to swing 7, 7, 7 across the board, obviously replacing the Sengoku, bringing out the Boa, looking at the top 3, and here's actually where I see Gravity Blade and another Boa. So obviously that's really good right there. I swing 7 into his Law, Law goes down, I swing 7 into his life, and I believe he takes it, going down to 1 life, which is great for me, and I put him really low. He's either at 1 or 2 life. Either way, I'm chilling. I'm doing good. He goes back up to 6 cards in hand after taking the life. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters on board right there, and they are pretty tough to get rid of, especially when you have 2 Boas in hand, because while you do get the extra Dawn, if you're gonna use your leader effect, you need 6 Dawn total to play Boa and use your leader effect. So can you, with those 2 characters right there, pierce into my other characters, kill my other characters? And if so, do you even want to do that? Do you even want to spend the rest of your 4 Dawn attaching to Jinbei and Weevil in this situation, or would you rather play another character? Now he goes into Boa. Boa bottom decks the first one right there. Very unfortunate, but it happens to all of us Doffy players. His headphones break right here, or his headphones die, so he ends up going to do a swap, or old switcheroo. Now guys, right here, I'm really in a great spot. I still have the bounce law in my hand. I'm pretty sure I held it pretty much the entire game, but I knew it's not necessary because I have the grav blade coming up right here. So him going into double boa, it didn't matter if you went into 1 boa or 2 boas. I was gonna bottom deck the weevil and the boa anyway, and I actually set it up so I have a boa on the top, so I can swing 7 into his life, and then I can swing 7 into his life, and then whatever characters stick to the board, they swing 5s as well, and I just keep draining cards from his hand. So that's what he goes. He ends up going boa, leaves him on top, puts an extra Dawn on his leader, and I believe he's gonna swing 7 into the law right here, and I'm gonna protect the law. There's an argument that I shouldn't have, but then again, no. Actually, yeah, there's an argument I shouldn't have, actually. No, there isn't. I'm sorry, guys. Because right here, he swings 7 into the law, and I thought he was going to swing 7 into something else. I really shouldn't have countered this right here, because I actually have another card coming up off the top anyway. So this actually could have cost me. So I go ahead and give him a 2K. And he swings 5 into my law again, and then I decided to save it with a Jozu. But realistically, guys, I'm gonna play a character next turn anyway. So I should have just let him kill law, because then I could have countered everything else. He ends up being able to kill my my boa because he makes a really good read by basically saying I don't have 2Ks in hand. I have 4 cards in hand, and he asked how many 2Ks are in my trash, and I had 4 in my trash as well. So 4 cards in hand, 4 cards 4 2Ks in the trash. So that's a really good read that he made, swinging 7 with the weevil into the boa. It's very risky. Either way, I should have let it go because I used way too many cards protecting the law that didn't matter, because I have another card that I was going to replace it with anyway. So I probably shouldn't have done that. But he swings 7 into the boa, and then the boa actually gets it goes bye-bye, bro. It goes night-night. So boa's dead right there. And then I say, sure, I'll let it go. I mean, technically it wasn't a super big deal, but I could have had 3 boas on the board instead of just 2. And obviously that would have been much harder to get off the board. But you know, you live and you learn. Definitely got to think that through next time, because it really wasn't worth it, especially since I already knew what was coming up off the top. I decided to think for a second to make sure that was still the right play, but of course it is, getting rid of the 2 blockers in the most efficient way possible, putting them at the bottom of the deck. You know, Sakazuki's wet dream. And then I go 5 into his Jinbei. Now, the reason I go into his Jinbei here, guys, is because while he is dwindling in life and dwindling in hand size, I am also dwindling in hand size and starting to dwindle in life. So I don't want to completely ignore the board or give him resources to protect the Jinbei when I find out that I can't actually put him at 0, and then he comes back with multiple attacks and actually is able to math out and clear my board. So that's when I go 5 into his life. After he lets the Jinbei go, I go 5 into his life, and he actually takes this one, which is absolutely crazy in my opinion. Unless he had no counter right here, I don't think he should have taken this one, because now I'm going to go 7 into his life right here. And then I'm going to get a boa, and then boa is actually going to allow me to swing another 7, which is great because I can attach the Dawn and put it on my active boa. Now, I have to sequence it in this way. If he opens up Grav Blade off that trigger, it's still totally fine because he's at 0 life now with 2 less boa blockers. So like, he has to find a way to clear my board while being at 0 life, while also establishing a blocker, while also hoping I don't have Perfume Femur. And that's kind of just like where my mindset was at. So I decided to kind of bait him into taking it. That way that, like, it's just way harder for him to defend. And he actually decides to take this life, hoping to find a Grav Blade, but like the Grav Blade didn't matter either way. Once you're at 0 life with Doffy, you're pretty much just dead. You're pretty much just dead in the water. So he decides to take it right there, no Grav Blade, and then I swing 7 and then take 2 cards out of his hand. And the game's pretty much over from here. But yeah, guys, let me know if this was helpful for you. I always like making helpful videos. I always like making talking my plays through, because I feel like there's a lot of intricacies with this game and I can explain them pretty well. Sometimes I kind of yap and sometimes I kind of lose where I'm at, but yeah, hopefully this is helpful for you, and let me know if it was, because that means I'm on the right track and should keep doing things the way I'm doing them. If they're not working, obviously I can kind of try to change my approach. But peace.